So the early previews for Avowed are out. Yes, Avowed. Remember that game from earlier this year where they said their amazing combat developments were allowing them to switch weapons mid-fight?
Our team's overarching goal is to empower you with choice. So we developed a flexible combat system that allows you to quickly swap from spellcasting and sharpshooting to melee combat.
I'll be honest, when they showed off gameplay in 2024 earlier this year with the developer direct, I didn't love what I saw. I really thought that it looked kind of goofy, not too serious. The combat looked kind of stiff and a little stale and very floaty. Also, them saying that their claim to fame was that they could switch weapons mid-fight, their whole loadout and everything was just kind of silly to me. Is that something since we've had, since Skyrim in 2012, them saying that that is such a big development they've been working on was kind of a silly and red flag to me, if I'm being honest. Honestly, originally I thought this was going to be Obsidian's take on Skyrim, but as we've seen this new footage, it looks much better. The whole world is a lot smaller and condensed compared to Skyrim. It's much more focused and open zone rather than like an open world. By open zone, I really just mean that, you get smaller but more compact areas where, they're still pretty large, but they're not a whole entire world. And you get multiple of those where you're able to find tons and tons of content and things to explore and find. But what they have seems pretty good, and like hearing that it's going to be a good amount of content in each zone, reportedly at least, is relatively much better feeling than like a giant area that has nothing to do, or a small area that has nothing to do at all. We don't we want content, we want stuff to do. It just makes it more fun. There seems to be a huge focus on exploring the environment and the map to find like little secrets around the area. It really seems like Obsidian's kind of packed each little like area and point of interest to have like so much content to really keep you explored and entertained, and want to find that next little bit of loot and treasure, which I honestly love. I think when RPGs do that, that's so awesome. It's so nice. Having like actual stuff to look for instead of like a barren world is 10 times better. I really love it. Back to the swapping weapons joke. It really looks like the combat has gotten much better too. There's third and first person, which is really nice. Now, personally, I'll probably be playing first person in this one, just because the animations like usually are just better looking in first person in most of these games. You're actually seeing all the stuff going on in your hands rather than just like watching from behind. But yeah, I'll definitely play first person. The animations look really good. I won't lie. A lot of the stuff seems pretty fluid, no floatiness, which is nice. Floatiness is such a big issue I have with a lot of games. The impact looks really good as well on enemies, which I really liked. Like, seeing like impact on enemies is very important. You want to make sure your attacks are having weight to them. You want it looks like, like if I'm swinging like a wide hander, I don't want it to feel as if I'm swinging just a regular short sword, like that's not as fun, but yeah, having like a big weapon seems to have impact. Same with like explosions. It really seems like it's pretty weighty, which is really important. Enemies seem to also have a stagger bar as well under their health bar. It looks like when the stagger bar kind of fills up, you seem to get like an open opportunity to do like a heavy attack or like a special attack that'll do like a massive amount of damage to the enemy that you're fighting, which is really nice because it also kind of adds to like that little bit of a fantasy where you're just thrusting the sword, it seems like, for like the sword animations, and having like a special finisher move or like a critical move is always really cool. Just kind of adds to like the power fantasy. The game also seems to have stealth, which is really nice because if you're gonna have an RPG, you want to have that option to be like that rogue or that assassin. I feel like those archetypes are really important to be able to fulfill. So having like stealth attacks is really nice. Hopefully they won't be too like busted, the stealth attacks. I don't know if they're like one shots always or like how to work, but hopefully like stealth's not too OP, because that can kind of be game breaking in some situations, because then it's like, why wouldn't you just play like a stealth character if it's gonna just one shot everything? Speaking of combat, it seems like you have your typical fantasy enemies, your spiders, your bandits, your lizards. It seems like ghosts and ghouls as well. It seems like they're gonna be really appealing to like a very typical fantasy setting, which is really nice. I definitely like that. Hopefully we can just see a little bit more variety. The gameplay shown really only seems to show like those few enemies. I want to see like some demons if possible, just some more things. I feel like those would be really nice. There also seems to be dungeons, which is really nice because I feel like dungeons are kind of a huge part of like fantasy RPGs as well, or just RPGs in general. Finding like little like small segments and little like special locations and stuff are really important, at least for me. It adds to that whole element of like being immersed in the world where you have little secrets to find and things you can delve into if you'd like to. I feel like that's so important, and it just adds so much more more depth and weight to the game as a whole. Being able to find small little things like that, I really genuinely do love stuff like that. It seems like player choice is huge, and there's also tons of dialogue options that have a lot of weight and effect on your narrative choices. It seems like some of those are also affected by like your character choices, which is really nice and important to me, like the build that you chose, etc. Because it adds more like immersion into like the role you're playing, you know, saying, you know, it is a role-playing game, which is pretty important to me. You know, I like to see multiple options and ways to go about things based on the choices that I choose for my character and stuff. That's definitely what I would like to see in my games. You also have companions with you in your combat. Now these can be upgraded, it seems. Like they have like a little bit of their own skill tree. I don't know if you can change like their gear as stuff, like the weapons and the armor, but I think they do, you know, they do their own little like quips and stuff like that, which is really cool to see. They seem like they're pretty funny. And you can also build relationships with them, I think. There's also a camp function where you go to this camp and you can cook, craft, resource management, and it seems as if you can do companion relationship building, but I'm not too sure about that. I don't know if those two are related, like Baldur's Gate in a sense, where you have like a relationship bar. That could not be the case, but it is cool. Yeah, you can like, you know, mess with their own skill tree, which I think is great. So the story seems to be about the Living Lands, where you play as a god-touched race that is a dying breed, which also apparently comes with special skills and powers when you're upgrading, which I think is really cool. You know, it kind of fits into the narrative, that you are this, you know, special race of people. But yeah, you're playing in this Living Lands, and there's a plague that is taking over the people and the creatures and like the environment. You're sent down as an envoy, and people seem to not trust you at first because they thought that this dying breed was gone forever. And then you just randomly show up, and yeah, you're meant here to come and save the people of the Living Lands. There seems to be a huge variety of weapon types, which is really nice because, you know, I'm kind of sick of like your typical sword, hammer, and then like great sword, you know. It seems like there's muskets, you know, all types of different things, axes, etc. Tons and tons of weapons. I'm really excited for the combat options we're gonna be able to get. I will say I did make fun of them at the beginning of the video, saying that, you know, they talked about their revolutionary combat being, you know, switching weapons, but I am excited to be able to use that. You know, I feel like some games do leave that out, where, you know, it's fun to play with multiple builds and kind of, you know, on the fly really switch it up, you know, however you're playing. Even though I am pretty basic, I like to stick to one path really, and, you know, fulfill that path and, you know, be that type of character. I don't like to switch too much, but it is still having, you know, having that option is still really cool. I definitely appreciate that. The visuals also seem really good. I was a little worried by some of the stuff they showed back in that developer direct, where it just seemed very bright, and I don't know, I liked having my dark and grittiness a little bit in my games. I will say the face models could probably do with some upgrading, maybe some tweaking a little bit. Some of them seem kind of iffy and off. It's not too big of an issue for me, but if, like, you know, if we're having like a dialogue option in a segment, I don't want them to like look kind of funky. Obviously it's something minor that could be tweaked, maybe even with mods, you know, Bethesda games, it's gonna happen. It's a small complaint for me, but I will say it is kind of like annoying seeing like funky face models. But other than that, the visuals look pretty good. The reviews so far are really positive on it, you know. This was supposed to come out in fall, but since the fall kind of lineup for 2024 has been so packed, I mean, we have so many games coming out, so they decided to push to February 18th, I think, 2025. So, you know, they have tons of time to kind of work on little minor stuff, bugs, performance issues. Apparently there was some performance issues. People reported dropping some frames and segments, so hopefully that can get fixed, since we have about 3-ish months until this is, you know, out and playable finally. There's also apparently not a huge amount of enemy density. This was what Force Gaming said in his YouTube video, and just stating that, you know, he would fight a bunch of enemies in one area, but then he, you know, would walk for some bit and not really come into any enemies. And then, you know, same rinse and repeat, where it's, you know, he's finding enemies in a little small section, no enemies, more enemies, etc. Another complaint I've seen is that the game is slightly handholdy.
I did feel that your companion Kai was a bit too handholdy with his tips at times. There were a few moments when I was simply scavenging for loot and found him whispering tips about a puzzle in my ear.
I think there's something on the upper floor. We might be able to reach it from outside.
Personally, I do get annoyed at hand-holdy stuff. It's not like a make or break for me, but it is kind of annoying. I feel like modern games have, you know, the yellow paint or the ropes on like climbable surfaces. These things are just kind of silly to me. I am a little tired of them. They definitely do not have a place anymore. I feel like they've gotten a little, you know, same old, same old. I don't know. Other than that, though, Avowed is looking really, really good. I am very excited. My expectations have shot way through the roof. This is definitely going to be a game that's on my radar. We'll definitely be playing it here in 2025. You know, February is going to be a little bit crazy. We got Monster Hunter Wilds and Avowed. It's going to be a time for sure. I'll have to try and, you know, try and fit that in the schedule somehow. But yeah, this game has really shot up for me. I'm very excited for it. I think it's going to be so much better than what we originally thought, at least what I originally thought. Because like I said, when that developer direct back earlier this year came out, I was like, oh my God, like this is just not looking too good, sadly. But yes, it looks much better. I have way higher hopes, and hopefully it's going to be the game that we want. You know, if we can get a nice new RPG, I'm down. You guys know how I love RPGs. But other than that, I don't have much else. See you guys in the next video, and thanks for watching.